Good morning. Please maintain silence until the meeting begins.
Good morning, Madam President. We are recording.
Good morning. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please stay present for roll call. Commissioner LEHRER?
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Present.
Commissioner BRADY? Vice President RUIZ?
Present.
3 board members. A quorum is present. Madam President?
Thank you. I have no opening remarks this morning, except to say that it is election day. So if you have not yet voted, please do. Other than that, we are prepared to move directly into general public comment. So Board Secretary, would you take that piece of business up, assuming we have general public comment?
Good morning, speakers. Public comment is now open. Please be mindful that you will have 2 minutes. The first speaker is Victor Sanchez, who will be followed by Ashok Talukdar.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Victor Sanchez, the Director of the Repower LA Coalition, also with the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy. I'm here to urge your support for item 17. This motion is the first step in ensuring baseline access to utilities for our most vulnerable frontline communities. I want to, in particular, uplift the importance of focusing on low-income communities, and in particular, the Black and Latinx communities who are 2 and 2.5 times more likely to experience shutoffs. These ratepayers deserve not to live in fear of losing water or power. I want to thank Board President McCLAIN-HILL for her leadership in bringing this motion forward and for working with the Repower LA Coalition and ensuring there is alignment on our equity goals. One thing we do hope gets revisited, either by additional action today or directed follow-up to any of the staff here, would be to also explore a policy to permanently bar the shutoff of either water or power service to multifamily buildings that are master metered for water and or power. We stress this, and we hope that you consider this, just because residents receiving utility services in master metered buildings lack an agency to ensure that water and power bills are paid. And LADWP has other options for seeking collection from large building owners who are in arrears on their payment obligations. So thank you again for this very strong first step. We're available to collaborate with any staff in developing the final policy. We appreciate your consideration and again, urge you to support this motion. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ashok Talukdar, who will be followed by Augustin Cabrera.
Good morning, President McCLAIN-HILL, Commissioners. Difference from my past presence here, I'm not here to ask for something today. I'm actually here to thank you. I want to thank you for reaching out to us, for your cooperation and your courtesy. AIDS Healthcare Foundation is doing these 100% affordable housing constructions and repurposing in 3 different cities in this country. And I think we should be able to say that it is not some city in South Florida or some city in New York, but right here in Los Angeles that we have come up with a sustainable model for solving this crisis called homelessness. So again, I thank you for your consideration, and we are looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
The next speaker will be Augustin Cabrera, followed by Marvin Brown.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Agustin Cabrera. I'm the Policy Director at SCOPE. We're a grassroots grassroots-based building organization in South LA and a proud member of the Repower LA Coalition. We're here in strong support of item 17, introduced by the board president, and just wanted to quickly kind of give an overview of why we're here and why we've been coming to these board meetings. Since the pandemic, our coalition has really advocated to uplift the real concern of Angelenos facing high utility burden and the inability to pay. And since then, we've worked with your incredible team to bring money from the state to ensure that folks have some relief from their bills. And now we're really focused on making sure that we eliminate shutoffs for low-income Angelenos because folks are really living in fear that their power will be shut off and their water will be discontinued in times of crisis. And just last Friday, we submitted a community-led letter, back letter that really emphasized the need for this immediate action. And today, our coalition actually released a report that really pulls together LADWP data to really make the case that this is both will make a great impact for low-income Angelenos, but also makes sense for the department. And so we're here in strong support of item 17, introduced by the board president. This motion is a great first step to ensure that affordability and long-term equitable rate design that folks are looking for. And as my colleague Victor said, we'd also like to see protections extended to those residents living in master metered buildings. And so again, we want to extend our continued collaboration with the board, with the department to ensure that this policy is implemented equitably. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Marvin Brown.
Good morning, Your Honor, honorable commissioners. Ms. Hill, God bless you all. Yes, I'm here because you probably know that I have been aggressively pursuing a contract opportunity with the department here. And in that quest, it's been about 7 years now, there have been some interesting things happen. What I've been able to do was document many of those things and get them before the court. I have tried desperately to get that information to you directly, and it's been very difficult, to say the least. So, but I want you to know, I am not your enemy. I am not your enemy. The findings are very interesting, and I hope that you will take a look at them. I also produced a memorandum several years ago about containing rising cost. I am a consultant. I work in process improvement, enterprise transformation, and IT. So that's what I do. It's my hope. We were able to finally get some documents over to you. It's my hope that you take a look at that document before granting Pandora that contract award. The proposal was found to, once I did get a hold of the proposal, it was found to contain, it was fatally flawed. It was non-responsive, non-compliant. It was over budget and out of competitive range. Now, what that means in particular, the cap budget on the proposal was $6 million. Their proposal didn't have a cost proposal. And the other thing that I want to cite was that the contract was being awarded for $7.5 million. It was actually $1.4383 million above the ceiling above the project threshold, over budget, and actually $2.5 million above the lowest responsive bid. So my effort here is simply to inform you, to make sure you know that on November 17th we do have matter to be in court, and I do want you to know I'm not your enemy. That's what I do, and I'm here to help. So if you would, it's my hope that before you award that contract to Pandora, that you take a look at the document. It will result in an avoidable contract, and I am literally trying to protect you. I'm trying to shield you from any any unwitting, rubber stamp kind of offer there. So that's all I have to say. God bless you. And I hope that my words didn't fall on deaf ears. God bless you.
Public comment is now closed. Madam President?
Thank you very much, and thank you for your comments. We will now go to the general manager for reports, including reports from water, power, and administrative system management.
Thank you very much, and good morning. I'll keep my report brief, but I have a few things I'd like to highlight for the board and for the public who are here. First of all, we've had a number of announcements and press conferences on the water side, which have been very successful. Last week, Commissioner Vice President RUIZ and I joined Mayor Garcetti as we announced the increase in our turf replacement rebate. We went from $3 a square foot to $5 a square foot. Up to 5,000 square feet of turf can be removed at a residence, and up to 50,000 square feet at a business. This has been a very successful program. LA is surpassed several years ago the entire state of California goal, and we're trying to get to the point that we're changing the norm in California, and this is a way to reduce water substantially. We do know that a third of residential water use is still outdoor water use, and we think we can make a big dent in that and help LA to have a nice environment and be much more water friendly. So that was announced last week. Yesterday, we had another press conference. Commissioner LEHRER and I joined the mayor as well as Councilmember O'Farrell at the Natural History Museum, where we toured the native gardens that Commissioner LEHRER actually designed back in, I think, 2013, as I recall. When she did that under contract for Natural History Museum, they took a paved parking area and made a beautiful green space out of it with native California and other California-friendly plants. And so we had a great press conference there. One of the keys to that press conference is also the mayor's announcement about our substantial savings in water. Our summer use going from June through September was the lowest summer use on record since we started keeping records back in the early 1970s. So even though the population has increased dramatically in LA, it's the least amount of water we've ever used in the summer that we've had record of. So it was a great accomplishment for the people of LA, and it was nice to not only recognize that accomplishment, but also continue to look at ways that we can save water in the future as we look toward more tough years ahead. Our refill water station, I think I announced last meeting that we opened a third one at Delano Park in North Hollywood. We continue to look for opportunities to throughout the city to open refill stations. We're somewhat constrained, of course, by where the water is available based on where the treatment plants are, but we've had a tenfold increase in people partaking of recycled water at those stations from what we had in 2016. We did 10,000 gallons in 2016. We're well over 100,000 gallons now. And so people are really taking part of the program, and it's nice to be able to offer something and have people taking advantage of that. We also have a great participation in our Cool LA initiative that the Christian president and I, along with the mayor, participated in launching about a month and a half ago, I'd say maybe. We've had 1,100 air conditioner rebates come through, and this is for low-income customers, customers with disabilities, seniors, to try to help them be able to have a portable air conditioning unit, which now they can actually get with an immediate point of sale rebate. And so we've had good participation in that program. Also, we've provided another 53 customers with rebates for used electric vehicles. So we're seeing a continued interest in that program. And last week of October, we had another 1,500 customers sign up for our Easy Save program. I don't normally mention this, but week in and week out, we average about another 1,200 to 1,500 customers signing up for Easy Save, and that's been regular ever since we revamped the program at the board's urging and made that more available. So we see continued good uptake in that. Last thing for me, I want to say that let everybody know that we have a safety perception survey going on right now. It's a survey we do theoretically every 3 years or so. The last one was way back in 2017. This is a survey of employees throughout the department to get their perceptions of how safety is here and how we regard safety. It's been a very good guiding tool in the past. Our Safe Start program was born out of the survey results, as well as the peer volunteer program for substance abuse issues. And so we actually revamped the survey using a different tool. It's a little more customized to the department. So we're encouraging all of our employees to respond to that, and that'll help guide us in our safety work. And it's done in the concert with IBW Local 18 and JSTI. And so we're looking forward to the results of that. I'd like to ask Erin Henning to come up real quick. She had another good event yesterday in the Small Business Academy. You want to tell us about that, Erin?
My pleasure to tell you. So first, I would like to thank Commissioner Ruiz, who joined us yesterday, and Commissioner LEHRER, Marty. Thank you for releasing the mayor, because right after he was at the Natural History Museum, he made it back to City Hall, where we had, for the first time in 3 years, the graduation of the Small Business Academy. So this was the 8th year. It was the first time the mayor ever attended. So it was a very special event for the graduates. We had 28 people that completed all of the sessions that were offered. We had 90 people in the class, but only 28 actually completed everything. So we were very excited to be back in person. It was a fantastic event. Commissioner Ruiz was there. We also had the president of the Board of Public Works, Ora Garcia, and 2 other commissioners, Commissioner Reyes and Dr. Davis. So it was very well attended, and we are very excited about this not being the end of the Small Business Academy, but actually it'd be the first step for all of those small businesses and how we can work together. And as I told them yesterday, that, you know, the academy may have ended the information that we provided on how to do business with DWP and the city, but this is the first day that they joined the city family. So we are a partner with them, as well as all of the graduates. And this is also the first time we had some graduates from 2021, because that was also a virtual year for us. So we wanted to acknowledge them in person. So it was a fantastic event, and we were happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, Erin. And lastly, Brian Wilbur is going to give us just a brief storm update, let you know how the system's doing with the weather.
Okay, so this will be real brief. It's we're doing great. So the system's holding up very well. We had some rain last night.
News. That's good.
Most of our issues have been with vehicles versus poles. So it's been mostly traffic accidents. This morning, the rain came in a little bit heavier. We had some major circuit outages this morning, but right now we're down to under 1,800 people out. So we've had a lot of extra crews on duty through the night. So we've been able to attack everything right away. So right now we look really good.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you to all of our crews that are out there doing the tough work in the bad weather. So appreciate that. And that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report? I want to also join in acknowledging the just incredible and gorgeous work that our board commissioner LEHRER does in her day job as a landscape architect. And I know from firsthand experience that the gardens over at the Natural History Museum are quite beautiful. So just wanted to say that. Now, before we get on to other business matters, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to recognize a really extraordinary employee and public servant who has served our city for over 4 decades. Mr. Rami, would you please come to the podium? Paul started out as a security officer with the city of LA in 1982 and transferred to LADWP a year later. He's now about to step into retirement with a remarkable and impressive 42 years of dedicated service to the city of Los Angeles. Throughout his career, Paul has been stationed in many city and LADWP facilities, interfacing with many employees. You will never miss his presence. Tall, quite handsome, and exuding a big personality, always with a smile and a friendly face. But Paul is so much more than a security officer. He is well-liked, well-respected, a larger-than-life individual who embodies the best of what LADWP has to offer. You can count on Paul to exemplify industriousness and customer service. He has a positive and infectious, upbeat attitude. He shows kindness and concern for everyone. He is also a man of purpose and ambition, setting goals for himself, and he goes on to achieve them in a spectacular fashion. Outside of LADWP, Paul has worked as a lifeguard trainee. As a long-distance runner, he has competed in 15 marathons and 5 triathlons across the United States, from San Francisco to New Orleans. In 1989, Paul achieved an associate arts degree in restaurant management from San Bernardino Valley College, and then went on to Cal Poly Pomona to pursue a business administration in restaurant, a master's degree in restaurant management. In 2002, he attended the Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute, where he received an associate's degree, along with the well-deserved nickname Chef Paul, to pursue the bragging rights that come with it. Paul's culinary skills are very special, and he competed in the Master Chef reality TV series, where he finished in the top 80 out of 23,000 contestants in the United States.
Wow.
And for the past 2 years, he's provided us with memorable cooking demonstrations in celebration of Black History Month. He makes a mean peach cobbler as well, something that I don't know how to do and I will miss. Another of Paul's passions is singing. He's been a member of the DWP Chorallers and the DWP Gospel Choir. During the past 20 years, Paul has performed at numerous LADWP events, retirement celebrations, and ceremonies, bringing joy to many. Paul, we are most definitely going to miss seeing your smiling face in the morning here at JFB, but our loss is your family's gain. We are happy you will be seeing more of your lovely wife, Corinne, of 37 years, and your 2 children, Paul and Karina. On behalf of the board, the department, and the city of Los Angeles, I wish you a long and happy retirement. And I want to thank you for your 42 years of incredible public service. I will now present you with your service pin and also simply say that you're one of the first people that I met at DWP, and simply seeing you when I arrived here made me feel like I was in a place that was very special. So thank you for that, and congratulations on 42 years. Not going to even try to pin you because I will give this to you. You keep it safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hold it up just like you're gonna, like both of you hold it. Yeah, just like you show it. Yeah, there you go.
Show it.
Show both of you hold on to it. I know it's a small.
It's a small thing.
It's a small thing, but it's a big thing here. Okay, that's good. Here's the first one. Let me see how we're looking here. Oh yeah, perfect. And one more time. That's good right there. Very nice. Thank
So
you.
Commissioner Lehr and I want to get in the action. Why don't we?
Yeah. The barrier.
Come on over.
Yeah, why don't you come up here?
Let's do the seal.
Yeah. We can do that.
You might not go home, huh?
Congratulations.
Bring that up just a little bit. That's good. Yes, I close. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's the first one. Good smile. Let's see how we're looking here. Okay, do a couple more. That's a good smile. And one more time. That's good right there. Excellent. Thank you.
Family here.
Yes, my wife Corinne is here with
Could you join us for a photo?
When she comes in, then I'm second. That's it. That's right. That's right.
That's why you've been married 37 years.
Married man will tell you that. You're not saying anything.
That's right.
Okay, let's look here first.
Okay, look over here.
Oh, man, so special.
Okay, there you go. 1, 2. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, good smile, big smile. There you go. Let's see how that looks. Okay, do that again. There we go. And one more time. All right. Right there. Yay. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
I do want to note that we are joined in the room today by a number of Paul's colleagues, and certainly want to ensure that we get photographs of him with those individuals. And if there are people that are here to speak on behalf of or have a brief comment to make, you are certainly welcome to do so. Otherwise, Chef Paul.
I'll say something after you. Go ahead. Come on up.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Truly is an honor and a privilege for me to stand and honor such a great man of God. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Just to
Hey,
let
you can say God.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'd just like to say that Paul is indeed a great person who has been a part of the Department of Water and Power Gospel Choir, which I am the president and founder. And we have been in existence for over 30 years. We had our last curtain call 2013. However, we had such a great time. I mean, he's just a light. He would come in, his spirit, his demeanor. I mean, he would just been always joyous. I've never seen him upset. I've never seen him, anything. He's always just had such a great personality. And we're going to miss you, Paul. We thank you for being such a great, intricate part of the Department of Water and Power Gospel Choir. I decree and I do declare that you shall live a long life, and you and your wife with good health and strength, and you're going to enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this
Thank you,
great
Cheryl.
accomplishment and milestone.
Thank you,
so
Cheryl.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Speak. Chris is here to offer a few remarks.
Board members, as the Director of Security, I had great pleasure working with Paul. The first time I met Paul, like you, Madam President, he was actually the second security officer I met. I reached out to shake his hand, which I don't do anymore. Paul's giant hand wrapped around and nearly broke my wrist. I don't know what he has going with that wrist, but so we just hug now. Right. So I'm so glad that you didn't shake his hand. I was really worried about that. I almost had to intercede at the moment. 5 years ago, I gave Paul his 35-year pin in my office. And he cried. That wasn't weakness. Paul loves this department. I mean, he has given us so much of his time. And while his legacy is his family, because I know he's such a great family man, the legacy he lives here is kindness, devotion to people, understanding, taking care, going above and beyond. That's what you mean to me. If I had a bad day, I'm going to go find Paul because he's going to make it a better day. So what I would like to tell you is that he is a Renaissance man. He gives the kindness that our world is lacking today. So Paul, you will be missed. I will miss you. I will miss your ideas. I will miss the stories that you tell me about your family and all the honeydews that you do. We compare lists. Right. His list is bigger than mine, ready to go. And I will miss your food that you brought in. Right. So congratulations. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Kimberly Smith.
And Miss Kim.
Hi.
Take care.
On behalf of the Water and Power African American Association Board and members, we would like to thank Paul Ramey, lovingly known as Chef Paul, for stepping in as president for the last 3 years. Paul would get off of work and wait around before driving home to attend our monthly Zoom meetings. We appreciate your dedication of service to WAPA throughout your years as a member, and we wish you a very happy retirement. Please don't forget to let us try some of your delicious cooking at our next events. We missed out having virtual meetings. Thank you, and you will be missed, the board.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Thank you.
Certificate.
Great.
Thank
Okay, no, let's go.
Okay, why do you look nervous?
I'm a principal security officer or captain at Department of Water and Power. I met Paul when I first started when I was a young pup about 23 years ago. He took me in, took me camping for the very first time, actually overnight. Showed me a lot of stuff about camping, himself and his kids, my kids. He actually showed me that a lot of stuff, Department of Water and Power. He showed me the different patrols we have here, how to act professional, how to take care of a lot of responsibilities as a security officer, and more than ever, Paul's more like a big brother to me. He kind of took me under his wing when I first got here. I've had a lot of stuff happen since I've been here. You know, lost family members, and I kind of get emotional talking about it. But Paul has always been there. You know, he showed up. He's brought food to the family. He's always supported me. Him and his wife. When my daughter graduated college, he was one of the few people that actually flew out with me to watch my daughter graduate college. When I lost my wife, Paul, he came over the day after, brought food for me, gave me a card, told me how much he loved me, told me he'll be there for me. So not only are we losing a great person here, we're losing a great security officer. The department is actually going to be, our security staff is actually going to be lost without Paul. Because not only is Paul a good person, he's a good friend. When we had special events, Paul would do most of the cooking. In the morning, I worked AM watch with Paul. Paul would make coffee for everybody. We have a guy that replaced Paul, but, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. Has a little, I don't know if Paul nicks the grain with his finger to add a little Paul touch to it. But something the coffee is decent, but it's not the way Paul makes it. So we're going to miss him. I know I can speak for a lot of the guys that work with us. Just seeing Paul when I came in when I was on Graveyard and some people coming in the morning, there's definitely going to be a loss, but I know that I'll keep in contact with him. And I got a brother and a friend for life. I love you, man.
Thank you, man. Well. As my wife said, just get to the point. They said it all. Thank you to the commissioners. Thank you for the President McCLAIN-HILL and also Vice President CYNTHIA RUIZ and the first female board of water and power existing in 2020 and within the city of Los Angeles. So everybody knows I'm Paul Ramey. Chef Paul is one name. I got about a whole bunch of crazy names. But I'd like just to say a few things about that. Also, thank you to our GM and General Manager and Chief Engineer, Mr. Martin L. Adams. Wonderful person. We've got caught in the hallway talking about peach cobbler, and the president would say, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, Paul's making peach cobbler." That stopped the show. I think that was the day the meeting didn't even start on time because we talked about peach cobbler. So if anybody was here, got a chance to have something I've cooked. Even for the Women Engineers Day, I kind of surprised them a couple of years in a row before pandemic and did some peach cobbler and all, which is great. Just like to say this is a wonderful company, and I'll go on from there and saying that LADWP has taken a lead role, proactive in the accomplishments of many firsts in the city of Los Angeles and in the nation. I'm very proud of Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, many accomplishments of the company, which cares about employees and cares about their people. My parents have always said, treat people nice, be a proud and respectful person, work hard, and try to find something you love to do. And if you don't, just keep that on the side, which everybody knows is my cooking. So I kept that on the side and coming here into Water and Power. You know, I got many stories, as Jim said, and as Chris said, my little brother and all that, but I'll get on down here. It's been a wonderful, great ride for 40 years. And here are the wonderful friends, members, our directors. I just, you know, what all can I say? The Corliers, the singing, the different organizations here at Water and Power. It's a lot of firsts. Proactive when it came to the pandemic, caring about the employees here, caring about the public, you know, masking up, all that. I mean, I talk to my relatives back south and I tell them about Water and Power. They're so proud and wonderful conversations we have about what we're doing here at DWP and for the city and for the employees. And that, yeah, this is good water that comes out of the pipes. People don't understand. I talked to a water guy and he looks the parts for me and all that. He says, DWP is good water. So I tell people it's good water like the good people here. And closing my opportunities, I've been able to accomplish so many things that you've heard already. And I want to thank my wife, Corrine, over there. Their nickname is Sugar. She got that back in Mobile, Alabama. You know, that's another story. She's telling me to wrap it up. Lord have mercy. Well, I just heard the GM told me I got all the time in the world. But I will wrap it up. Thanks for my kids. Karina and Paul Ramey are not here right now. Hoping that Paul, he's studying engineering now, civil engineering at Cal Poly, and hoping we'll get him in there. Yeah, I told him he's got a good people. He likes, he's got a chance to speak to quite a few of the guys that have retired here as manager and all that. So on that note, thank you for my staff. Thank you for my coworkers, my superiors at Security Services Division. I can't say enough. You know, I'm always popping up in here. Somebody last week said, wait a minute, you came in here to the building? I said, yeah, I had to pick up my poster and all that. They said, yeah, right, yeah. You can't get away from the building. I said, didn't they say after 6 months you can come back? But, you know, I'm just... But on that note, thank you very much. Thank the Lord, God, you know, the prayers that have been said for me on the road at nighttime and my wife and family being 65 miles away. In aunt in Pasadena. Yeah, I just can't say enough. So on that note,
so Chef Paul, I have a question. Yeah. Oh. So as you go into this next phase or next chapter in your life, what does that look like for you?
Well, right now, it's funny. My wife says, all he's worried about now is when he gets up, what time he's got to get to the gym, got to get a swim workout in, got to get that. But cooking, maybe doing some teaching and cooking, and I'm involved with a couple of men's organizations about healthy eating and moderate exercise during the week and also focusing on that. And I'm singing with the choir, a couple of choirs, and we're getting ready for a big event in New York City soon, next year, singing. So singing a gospel choir. And then somebody says, you singing a gospel choir? I said, yeah, but you sing Sinatra. Oh, what are you trying to change the lyrics when you get up there? I said, you never know. So thank you all. Thank you all present here, having me here, getting about 40 years of service here and all. I can't say enough. It's been wonderful. It's been a great ride. And anybody I've always seen, if they get in Water and Power, I've always tried to give them a little something to hold on to, knowing that this is an organization you can come in anywhere within there and move up, lateral, forward, wherever. And I've seen it all. I've been here a long time, so I've seen someone come from the garage and be head of purchasing. So this is opportunities. You got good people here. Good benefits, as my parents always said, benefits that make it all. So thank you.
Thank you.
People that I've been surrounded by, and the love and kindness, but I'll pop up around here every now and then, because Mr. Adams, whenever he gets ready to retire, I'll have to come and do a little song for him, and I'll have to sneak in and bring a piece of cover every now and then. You know, they forcing me. Well, little bit. Well, now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, but more, much more than this. I did it my way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we will try to move on. I am not aware of any motions to be introduced for future consideration at this meeting. Comments from ratepayer advocate on agendized items. Dr. Pickle, is there anything that you'd like to address at this time?
We have a number of items that will help DWP improve customer service on the agenda. And we strongly support that because customer service and the IT supporting customer service has been lacking in investment for a long time. And in particular, I would like to highlight item 17, paragraph 6, which says low-income customers pay as well or better than the average customer at DWP, and I think that's an important thing to note. We've researched that independently, and our research supports that.
Thank you. Comments or discussion with neighborhood council? Are there any statements at this time?
No, Madam President, no community impact statements at this time.
Next on the agenda is comments from Inspector General. Mr. Perez, do you have anything at this time?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to items recommended or consideration of items recommended for approval. And before we take up those items, I'd like to indicate that we're deferring items N1 and N3. We are calling special items N17 and N18. Item N4, Commissioner Ruiz is calling special, or would you prefer that that item be deferred? Yeah, we're going to defer item N4 as well.
Okay.
I mean, unless you'd like to hear it special instead.
We can defer it. I just had questions, so deferring's fine.
You know what? Why don't we do this? We'll have the item come special, and if the questions are resolved, then we'll move forward. If not, we will take it up at a later time. So with that, I'd like a motion for items in 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second. Would you call the roll?
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL? Aye. Vice President Ruiz? 3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then we will now move to management reports, item K. And that we have one presentation, Contractor Safety Management Program.
We have Ms. Fosley, our Director of Corporate Safety, and Mark Hinden to present.
Good morning, Commissioners. Safety Officer. I thank you for giving us this opportunity to present an overview of contractor safety management today. Of course, contractor safety is very important. Often our crews work alongside contractors, so contractors' safety performance and safe work practices directly impact the safety and health of our employees. In addition, in multi-employer work sites, LADWP is recognized as controlling or host employer. And as a host employer or a controlling employer, we are responsible to ensure that all work is done for DWP is done safely. So today's presentation is regarding contractor pre-qualification process. This structured process was implemented last year, and it includes verifying, evaluating contractor safety performance, qualification, certification, licenses before contractors begin work on DWP properties. So today, Mark Hendon is Manager of Corporate Safety, has a PowerPoint presentation, and I will be available for any questions. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for this opportunity. This is a program that we're very proud about. It has tremendous growth opportunity in many respects. We're still building the airplane as we're flying it, and we look forward to providing future updates. A couple of things that I wanted to mention before I get into the outline. In keeping with the theme of prior presentations, this is a great example of what a safety management system program looks like. At its heart, safety management system programs are about integrating, embedding safety into department operations, and this program does that. The other thing is we've benchmarked this program extensively with other utilities, so what you'll see today is very much what you could expect to see. Our peer utilities are performing as well. So with that being said, I'd like to get into what are the drivers of this program? Why are we doing this? What do we have now in place? And what you can expect are the next steps as we move forward. As Nazir had mentioned, there is a regulatory driver to this. And so we've had incidents where Cal OSHA has investigated personal injury on our properties that involved multi-employer work sites, other contractors who have been working alongside our workforces. Whenever they come on site, they look at the multiple employers that are running the operation on that site by these categories right here. Who is the controlling employer? Who's the creating employee? Who created the hazard? Who's responsible for correcting it, and who's exposing the employee to that hazard. So any employer can fall under any category that's listed here, and more than one employer may be citable for a singular hazardous condition. On top of that, in working with our risk management partners in finance, we just recently went under an assessment with an insurance carrier. In their assessment of how we manage risks on our operations, they look at contractor safety as one of those elements. And these two columns right here represent the buckets of practices that the hope is that we're implementing to manage safety on our work sites as it relates to contract operations. So on the left-hand side, we have a pre-qualification process that they ask that we are implementing. This includes looking at our bidders' safety record in terms of injury rates, fatalities. Do they have comprehensive safety-relevant programs for the operations that they're performing? Do they have a history of sanctions with regulatory authorities? And do they have the qualifications that are appropriate for the work that's being performed on our site? Once the work is being in place, so post-award, performance evaluation criteria. Are we monitoring, do our performance evaluation procedures incorporate safety, not just the deliverable or the specification of the deliverable that they're providing for us, but is safety, their safety practices, are we measuring their performance on that as well? So are they implementing the programs that they have? Are they providing site orientations? And that's a reciprocal expectation. Are we giving them an orientation onto our site and the hazards associated on our property and the site that they control? Is that communication being advanced to us as well? And then we have field monitoring and compliance. Do we conduct periodic inspections of their work site to verify implementation of those safety measures? So what can we take from all this? In the regulatory expectation, our risk management initiatives, and our benchmarking opportunities. These three columns right here, take that all together and categorize what a comprehensive management program looks like as relates to contractor practices. We have the pre-bid expectation regarding the safety record of our bidders. Once they're performing work, there's site-based and performance and engagement initiatives that is in terms of the safety performance of our employee, our contractors. What are we doing to monitor that? And taken together, these tools that drive the collection of that data are software in nature, and that provides data analytic opportunities for us and process integration opportunities for us. And you're going to get a flavor of that today and what we can look at now in terms of the performance of our contractors and what we're building towards. So what do we have in place right now? So we do have a pre-bid program in place right now. Its official launch was in May 2021. We worked with the city attorney's office on pre-bid specifications. We worked with our supply chain partners to make this happen. And it's been a successful response since then, since May 2021. At a high level, it incorporates these three elements right here. There's a safety compliance certificate that our vendors sign that I'll show for you today. There's a third-party administrator that we have a subscription with that helps with our pre-qualification efforts. And then there's a variance option for vendors that aren't subscribed to that third-party administrator, or for those that may have a sub-target grade. So I'm going to go over a grading process that is incorporated into this review. So out of the gate, the first thing that we do, this is related to services related contracts. We ask that the agents of the contractors sign an attestation that they are aware of the health and safety expectations and the regulatory expectations for doing work in this state and in this industry. At the heart of that in California, that means having a comprehensive injury and illness prevention program. On top of that, they accept responsibility for their subcontractors. If they're performing high hazard work, we're going to ask that they subscribe to a third-party administrator to review their safety record. It's a post-award requirement that aligns with risk management's insurance process. And there is a variance that I'll go over as well in the event that they have a sub-target grade or they're not subscribed. But first, what is high hazard work? So we are in the process of triaging and assessing the services that are provided to the department in our contracts.
So Mark, can we go back to the previous slide, please? So we're calling this a certificate, but they don't necessarily have to go through any training to get this. It's more like a pledge then.
It is, correct.
Okay, so why don't we call it a pledge instead of certificate?
Very good, yes. That is an accurate representation of what this is, yes.
So we're asking them to pledge that they're going to do all this stuff, not that they've gone through all this training and here's their certificate. Just, okay, I just want to.
Yeah, this is the pledge.
I'm
You're
just trying to
absolutely
clarify it in my mind. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, so we look at requisitions for these type of hazards right here. Is there any potential for catastrophic incident as it relates to personal injury, fatalities, environmental damage? Any advanced personal protective equipment? Are there specific regulations that apply beyond the general injury and illness prevention program? Specialized training or certifications for safety-sensitive work? And is there the introduction of additional hazards that otherwise aren't inherent in the workplace? And we created a risk matrix. And this is something that is commonly adopted by the other utilities as well, as they categorize the type of work by high hazard and low hazard in a tier classification system, such as what you see represented here. So to drill down on the type of work that we're looking at that may constitute this tier 1 work, high hazard, is there any work that's at heights that would require fall protection? Is this involve construction, hazardous energy, such as electricity, high voltage work, bulk chemical operations? Tier 2, this would be consultation services, training, catering, auditing. They wouldn't be subject to the same level of scrutiny or review that contractors providing services that fall under the tier 1 category.
So I just have a quick question
Yes.
as we move through this. First, thank you. This is very thoughtfully presented. These are all measures that are being adopted or measures, practices that are being adopted now. Is that correct?
This is what we have in place
So these are
now.
not things that previously existed. And I assume that this is informed in part by the near catastrophic accident that occurred involving contractors. Was it a year ago now, or
It was actually 2019. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I remember that particular incident, and it was very, very disturbing. And I want to understand how these measures would enhance our oversight and our safety practices in a way that would mitigate the potential for repeat accidents, for those kinds of occurrences vis-a-vis our contractors. So is that what this is intended to achieve?
It's leading to that, right. So out of the gate, we're starting pre-bid, right? So we need to communicate the expectation to our contractors, what we expect of them when they're performing work on our property. So before they even start, we're going to assess their history in terms of their safety record to see what they're bringing onto our property, onto our operations. What are they introducing into the work environment that we didn't exist before? But there is a post-performance follow-up to this. It doesn't end with that. And this brings tools in place to our contract administrators to be more engaged, and there's documentation that we build, and we're building safety into the performance evaluation of our contractors. So it's not a one and done, and it is something that is a proactive, engaged effort. There's a follow through to it.
The only other thing that I would say, and again, I'm very pleased at what's being presented, is that this is 2022, and the significant occurrence, as you've reminded me, was 2019. So my only concern is that we are ramping as quickly as possible, and that we are dedicating sufficient resources to our safety and oversight, our corporate safety and oversight programs and practices. And we as a department talk a lot about how safety is a core value, but talk is cheap. We've got to make certain that we are moving forward with the culture and the practices and the oversight that's necessary to have a robust safety practice at the department, or set of practices. I'm going to want to hear more, and likely more frequently. I know that as a board, we've been trying to make sure that we are providing appropriate oversight in this area. But I will be looking forward to a presentation towards the top of the year that really brings forward the entire panoply of practices that we have been bringing forward over the last couple of years now, and understanding how all of that is working, how it is integrated with our systems, both water and power, and making certain that we are reporting also, that we have a dashboard developed that allows for quick and easy checkups and accountability around safety. Because this does have very much a building while we're flying the plane feel to it. And I know that everywhere in the department, staffing and resources are an issue, but this is a place where we absolutely cannot afford to, or credibly scrimp while we are operating, a department with lots of high risk work underway. So, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but thank you.
Very much. It's greatly appreciated. I do have some screenshots of the dashboard to show that we're collecting now. It will grow. There will be more. But I wanted to give a flavor of what we're collecting now so that you can see that we're monitoring the metrics of our contractors. So those slides are coming up. The third-party administrator that assesses the safety record of our bidders is ISN NetWorld. This is a company that also works with other utilities, and in many respects, we have contractors that are already subscribed because this is what the other utilities are doing. And so they look at their programs, they're doing implementation assessments, they look at their history of sanctions, their licenses, their inspection processes, and they issue a grade. But they don't just issue a grade, they're there to help out with the contractors as well. They provide consultation services for them. They provide a learning management system and they help out many of the smaller businesses as well that may not be as well versed in the health and safety expectation in the community or in the state. And so they have a learning management system to help them get up to speed with that. And they also have networking opportunities with other contractors to be able to build their programs and adopt best practices.
So do our current contractors have grades?
Yes,
okay,
they do.
good.
And I'm going to show you some of that right now.
Thank you.
They do. So this slide here shows how we break down the grading system for DWP. So we do look at their safety statistics, their awarded points. 35% of their grade is based on that. And we look at 3 years of records. So going back, if they were hired in 2021, we'd go back to 2019. There's a questionnaire they have to fill out, their programs they have to provide, their experience modification rate they have to provide. And then you see on the right-hand side is the grading detail. So the target grade is to be a B or above. If they're a C or below, there's going to be additional expectations that we're going to ask of them, and there's also a higher level of signature authority so that there's a high level of awareness of the contractors that are performing work that may have that sub-target grade. So you're going to hear about some of those additional expectations that we ask of them. And beyond just taking, at face value that they have a health and safety program, we want some kind of verification of implementation. Oops, I'm sorry. So this is a picture of one of the dashboard images. So since we launched the pre-qualification program in May of 2021, we have 104 contractors that are now subscribed to the third-party administrator. We've had very few requests for variance. So all of the contractors, for the most part, that are coming to work for us that are performing high-hazard work, they're subscribing or they had existing subscriptions with ISN NetWorld. And from there, we can look at anyone that has a sub-target grade, what's the source of that grade? And again, we can look at history. So this page right here represents the collective metric from all the contractors. So you see at the lower right-hand corner, the 3-year safety statistics, this represents all of those 104 contractors. But we can drill down, and we can drill down on the individual contractor basis, and we can take it a step further from there and look at what is the work that they're performing for DWP. So this next slide.
Well, I see a lot of red on that slide.
There is red, yeah.
Contractor grades, low grades, a big chunk of red.
There is, so this puts on our radar what we have to work on. This gives us our assignment. And so the majority of those contractors, that represents about 35 contractors. It's 33 to 35 of the 104 contractors that have a grade that would be below the sub-target B level. And the majority, the reason for that is their safety statistics. They have the programs in place. Their fatalities may be low. They're filling out the safety questionnaire. The safety questionnaire asks the regulatory history, which the regulatory history in terms of if there was a citation, it's public record. We could look it up anyway and verify that. But the safety statistics is the one thing that they have the least control over, because if they had an incident, they had a high rate, say in 2009, we're looking at 3 years of records. It won't drop off their record, or they won't have an opportunity to improve their grade until it drops off that 3-year history. So it sticks with them for a while. But that serves as a motivator, though, to keep that rate low, because it's impacting their grade. And that grade it's not just impacts their work that they do for us. These contractors are performing work in our industry. They're performing work for the other utilities as well. So, and they're competing with other contractors that may have a better safety record than they do. So there's a built-in motivator here to get that number down. But part of we're looking at not just the work that they're performing for us, and that was where I was leading with looking at it on an individual basis. They may have had a bad year. They may be a smaller company that drives that safety statistic number high. So a small company that doesn't have a lot of exposure hours, it doesn't take a whole lot to get that injury rate high. And so if it's a small company, say of 15 to 20 employees, and we can look at that because we know their exposure hours. We know the work that they're performing on a year-to-year basis. And this next slide shows this. So we can look up contractor by individually and look at their 3-year history, their incident rate, their lost time rate, their recordables, their serious injuries and their fatalities, and then there's their exposure hours on that last column. So we get quite a spectrum of the size of companies. Some are very large, they have a lot of exposure hours, and with that, there's dilution though, because there could be an injury rate that's relatively low, but because they have a lot of employees, whereas a small company, it may be relatively high. And their rates are all based, and then how they're graded is in relation to how they perform in relation to their peer companies in their sector. So what ISN looks at is what is the Bureau of Labor Statistics average for companies that operate in that sector, that occupy that sector. So, and again, so from here, we can look at those exposure hours, not just for, in general, that they provide on a year-to-year basis, but if we want to drill down even further, how are they doing for us? And we've seen other utilities will do that. They'll make, they'll give them variance options in terms of the allowance to do work for the utility because they've done great work for them, free of injury. There was no loss of continuity in operation. There hasn't been any property damage or environmental issues associated with their operations. We can do that here. So we're, this is a part of the, this we have now. This we have now. So, and so we have 104 contractors since May of 2021. This number is growing and it will continue to grow. And so we'll be able to provide periodic updates on how many contractors that we have and our efforts to make sure that those grades are at a target level.
104 number, is that the total number of contractors we use for this type of work?
No.
Or the total number of people that signed up?
So those are since we started May 2021. So we do have some contractors that predate that launch. So they already had an existing agreement with us, right? So they didn't come to the department with an award with that expectation. So we do have contractors that are providing work that predate that launch date, right? So it isn't everyone, but and it's only for those contractors that are performing that high hazard work and its services. So there are some contractors that are not members that are doing work here at the department.
Your next slide, the interactive analysis contractor TRIR benchmarking. It says we're in the first quartile. Is that good, bad? I couldn't figure it out.
This is good. This is good. So
I just, you know, full disclosure, pictures don't help me. I do words. So, and I know for some people, pictures are like wonderful, so I always try to figure it out. But so that's perfect. So so that's good. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. This is a screenshot from the dashboard. It was a little bit small there, but It is a good slide. So it shows, and again, this is a collective rate. It's of all our contractors, their total recordable injury rate is low compared to our peer utilities. So each one of those rows on the right-hand side, those are anonymized utilities and the collective injury rates of their contractors. And so in our benchmarking practices, we look at how much the other utilities are contracting out. We look at their own injury rates and how much of that risk are they transferring to contractors. And so we see here that our contractors have a relatively low injury rate. We want to be first quartile. And we've done assessment. It says here on the left-hand side, this is among industry peers with a contractor base below 400. We can actually compare ourselves with the other utilities that have a far larger contractor base. And no matter how, up to 1,000 contractors, for example, we could look at that. Any way you slice or dice it, we're still in that first quartile. So it's good news. But we want to stay there. And that goes to safety is never done, right? Even if our vision zero is no injury. But even if one day that we get to that, the managing safety is not done because we might have had a good year, but you have to manage that to keep at that. It doesn't stop. That work is never done. And so our goal is to keep going up that. We want to be the number one on that graph right there, and we want to be that every year. So this right here is an image of our variance application. So let's say a contractor, they have a sub-target grade or they're not subscribed. So this is a call for the contract administrator. They have additional homework to do now in working with their contractors. So we document, what is the reason for the variance request? Is it because that there's something that's deficient in their safety program or an injury rate? And it gives us an eye for what are the measures that we have to work on to improve that and to make sure that we don't have another incident like what happened in 2019. And so there are submittals that the contractor is required to provide to us. Many of these submittals, they mirror what ISN Networld asks for. So for example, we ask for their OSHA 300 logs, and those OSHA 300 logs, they tell us the type of injuries that they're sustaining. Are they major incidents? Are they minor? We can look at that. And then we ask of them to perform some proactive safety measures, including an observation program with a minimum frequency, and to report that to the contract administrator at least quarterly. And the contractor, for their part, they agree to that. And so they provide their submittals. They agree to those proactive reporting. If there is an incident, we shouldn't have to ask them to report it to us. It should be automatic. Mm-hmm. They notify us if they've had an incident, if they've had any kind of regulatory scrutiny, if there's been an OSHA investigation, that needs to be proactively reported to us. And then we expect of them to perform proactive observation and inspections of their work site. And for our part, for DWP's part, us going out there, the contract administrator going out there and putting eyes on it to make sure that they're implementing the safety measures that's embodied in their programs. This also serves as a record for the contract administrator if there's any performance deficiencies. So they can document that and they can build the record in the event that there's any concern about continuing, if there's another contract opportunity in the future.
So it looks to me, based on this form, that the contract administrator or the project manager is the one that initiates this variance, and then they just ask the contractor to submit additional information. What happens if they don't submit additional information?
So there's the contract administrator is not on their own. This is in partnership with supply chain. So you have the buyer that's this is a part of the requisition process. This is part of the post-award process. And there are mechanisms in place to make sure this happens, because this is not done until it's signed. And it's signed by the division head and it's signed by the safety office. So it comes to us. And so it would be subject to my review, Nazir Fosley's review, and we won't sign. If it doesn't get signed off, then there is an opportunity for it to go to a higher level of signature authority. It would go to the system head. But this is not after there's a conversation that's taken place. Hey, there's concerns. And if there's a reason why myself or Nazir wouldn't sign it, that would be a red flag, right? There's deficiencies that are not being corrected.
So there's checks and balances.
There's checks and balances
Okay.
in place. That's absolutely right. Correct.
And this is post-award, not pre?
This is post-award, right? So it's similar to risk management with insurance. They have to get that insurance before they start doing. There's a 30-day period of review. And we do the same. So they go in parallel. In fact, the ISN program, insurance is incorporated into that process as well. We've partnered with the risk management office and finance to make sure we're working together on this. We're all in alignment, and they work in parallel.
Okay.
So this is a part of the plan that we're still building. I want to tie this into the bigger picture of what the department is going through right now. So we're undertaking this ERP plan right now. There's opportunities here to integrate safety into this process. And we have safety representatives and change champions that are embedded into this process. We have a safety management platform that integrates with Workday, and there's an incident management system that we're building. And this incident management system, we're building it in a way that has relevance across system. We want to align the efforts so that water, power, and joint system, they're all doing the same thing. And it's a one-stop shop. And the incident management system, at its heart, it starts with our employee safety, but it doesn't stop there. It's meant to, because a lot of the information that we collect for the purposes of employee safety, it's very similar information that we would collect for our contractors as well. So it doesn't take a whole lot more to build that program and to implement and plug it right into our human resource management system. On the supply chain side, this is the performance evaluation. There's an opportunity here to insert performance evaluation tools that address safety specifically. And so what does this look like? In that dashboard I showed you earlier, it's going to build to include this, something like this. So there's going to be an incident management tool that we're building that will include the reporting of personal injury, whether it's employee injury, contractor-related injury, or public. And it's a one-stop shop. And we'll be able to plug into it and we'll be able to report not just the incident itself if there is an injury, but near misses.
Well, what's the timeline on the next step?
We're bootstrapping to the ERP, Enterprise Resource Plan. So we're building a platform in parallel. So we have a safety net measure in place because there are these software applications and platforms. They have integrations that we could build in to the human resources system. So we have a backup platform in place that it will work in parallel with our HRMS system. But you could expect, our hope is that we'd be able to give you an update on that within the next year. It is a priority for us. This is a core initiative of corporate health and safety. Again, as I started this presentation, something we're very proud to, and you're absolutely right that this is too long in coming. Agreed. And so we're doing everything we can to move this forward as fast as possible. There is a contractor performance evaluation. This program right here is on our customer-facing websites on the internet. So bidders who have interest in doing work with the department, this is on our publicly accessible website. And as you can see, so I listed the elements. What are the rubrics that we look at to monitor the performance of our contractors? Safety is in there. It's mentioned in there. So we have an opportunity to flesh that out and make that more robust and build upon that. The variance program itself, the application is the start of that, because again, that provides the template for the tools and the checklists and the documentation system. We could plug right into this, and we can plug right into the ERP as well. And so this is something that we're working on as well, and we hope to give you an update on in the near future. And with that, that is where we're at today with contractor safety.
Mr. Adams, anything that you would like to add?
No, I guess, we had the terrible accident a few years ago, and it really brought to light the fact that we didn't have enough control and oversight over the contractors working on our property, working for us, and knowing who was on property, what their track record was. And so born out of that investigation and look into, all the factors that allowed that situation to occur, this program of oversight and involving this outside vendor as a way, an industry standardized way of getting a report card on contractors coming on. That was something that was established in the industry, and how we could adopt that here was a big step forward, and it filled a big gap in our processes. So Mark and Nazir and the team have been able to customize this and make it useful for us and make this piece of safety compliance and contractor compliance more part and parcel with our contract management, so that it becomes part of the overall job, part of bringing people on board in the first place, knowing that that we trust who we bring on our property, that they have a good track record. We understand if there's weaknesses or weak points up front that we can look at and we can monitor. And it strengthens that commitment, and realizing that because we are the owner, that we hold ultimate liability. Even though we hire people to come on our property, it's still our responsibility. And so we've been working to bridge that gap in understanding for years, but this tool and formalizing this process will be a huge step forward in that. So I think this will go a long way toward improving just the safe atmosphere on our properties, because even when a contractor is doing a job, we have personnel there all the time. So contractors exposed, our folks are exposed, whether we're doing work, whether we're just managing and inspecting the contract, we still have exposure. And so I think this will go a long way toward bridging a gap that's existed for some time.
Thank you. Any questions from board members?
No, just a comment. Thank you for a very thorough presentation. And, obviously there will be questions as you formalize this, but it should, hopefully the way the contractors get the information, ideally they'd be getting this information before they even get hired, so to speak, on a project. But it'll happen over time, I suppose. People will know that that's part of the, basically the procedure.
Yes, and we are part of the pre-bid orientations.
Okay,
so we do communicate the expectation that if they have work that falls in this category, that this is what we're going to be asking for, so they can prepare their bids.
And when Mark talked about it's after award, but there's a lot of things that happen after award before we allow a contractor to start for anything. There's something called the K page, there's insurance and all these other things. So, so after they're awarded, they have to comply with a number of documents, which is why normally it takes at least 30 days for a contract to start actually doing any work after the board awards it, because there's a whole lot of paperwork they have to fill out. This will become part of that. They cannot start work until they comply with our conditions.
Yes.
And it goes without saying, safety is a priority for everyone. This is an excellent presentation. Thank you, Mark and Nazir, for all your hard work. Now we just, the president and myself, we're always like, urgency. Okay, now let's make it happen. But, I understand all the work that went into this, so thank you for this information.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I just, first, Brian, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think Marty kind of said it all. This has been a long time coming, and it's a great program moving forward.
Anselmo?
No, I agree with.
Okay, got. I just do want to acknowledge our corporate safety team. Y'all have taken on just a tremendous, not burden, but tremendous job, both as it relates to managing the COVID response for the last 2+ years, in addition to working expeditiously to overhaul our entire corporate safety program to make it not just a function, but really an integrated part of what we do at the department. And so with each presentation, it becomes clearer the value that you bring and the reach, depth, and breadth of the systems that you're putting in place. So I want to acknowledge that and to continue to underscore Brian, how important this work is to everybody at the department, to our partners in labor, and how critical it is to this board that it be regularly showcased, reviewed, and engaged. So thank you all, or both, and your entire teams. No, there's a lot behind this. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All righty. With that, we have filed items. Are there any questions or comments regarding filed items? None. We will move to the adoption of the minutes. All commissioners were present at the board meeting that these minutes cover. So is there a motion to adopt?
The October 25th minutes.
Second, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific, thank you. We're going to move on to the items that are called special. And I think we're going to start with N4. I know that that we have questions about N4 that probably are less related to the work being proposed and more related to the process by which it has been procured. And I do want to note that our ratepayer advocate has already indicated his support for a number of the items that are being brought forward by CSD. So, Mr. Raphael.
So, Madam President, you're absolutely correct. I don't have an issue with the actual product or the customer service need for this. My issue is exactly what you mentioned, the process. And I found the board letter a little confusing because it threw a lot of different numbers out there. And we have had a conversation, but I felt it was important to do this in a public situation.
Good morning. I have a few slides that hopefully can address this.
Okay.
So in December of 2021, based on the results of a request for proposals or an RFP, we contracted with Accenture to conduct an operational assessment of customer service. The scope was defined as a 3 to 4 month assessment of the operational structure, the effectiveness in providing services to residential customers, and delivering technology solutions. And we had a large queue of technology initiatives and projects and other initiatives. So the scope also included a roadmap for the implementation of these items. That scope of work was entirely completed earlier this year, about 2 months ago. And based on the recommendations and the roadmap provided through the assessment, we've identified new additional scope that builds on the previous scope that we need assistance with. So this amendment will be doing 3 things. Adding new scope, which involves 34 new deliverables that will be part of that or comprise that. Increasing the expenditure limit from $3 million, which was expended for the first phase, to $14 million to address this new additional scope. And increasing the duration from 2 years to 3 years, which would extend it to December 13th, 2024. And so from the completed assessment, we received 21 deliverables that included insight on our residential customers, operational and organizational recommendations, and a roadmap to implement the initiatives and projects previously identified by customer service and those recommended during the assessment. The proposed amendment will build on the previous and provide insight on our medium and small commercial customers and assist customer service in defining such capabilities as quality management, strategic scorecard, and first call resolution. With this additional scope, we will define the foundational elements necessary to improve customer experience, enhancing our team's capabilities to support our customers and to improve and realize operational efficiencies. So if there are any questions, and hopefully address some of those concerns or questions.
Range of questions.
Sure.
And I think they all go to the procurement process associated with this particular amendment. Well, I guess, Aaron, you're here. This, I take it, went through your office, right? So can you explain how we get from a $3 million contract that was complete to a $14 million contract with an expanded scope that appears to be implementing the work that was scoped out and identified in the initial $3 million procurement?
So my understanding is a little bit different than what you stated.
I think that's what I just heard George say. Did I hear, did I not hear that
my
correctly?
apologies.
Okay.
It was not for the implementation of those things that were, it was additional assessments and definition of things that we need to be able to for us to be able to implement. So this isn't for Accenture to be implementing these elements. It's to give us additional insight on how to be able to structure things, additional recommendations in areas that weren't part of the original assessment.
I see. I do understand that distinction as it relates to scope. Okay, Erin, if you could tell me how you understand this?
So the information that was provided to us when we asked some additional questions was that the initial scope, they basically have used up the funds that were initially allotted for 2 years in the first 9 months of this year. And they came up with some results in that on the residential side that identified some additional work need to be done on the commercial side so there could be a comprehensive look at LADWP as a whole. So the work that they requested and this amendment is to do that additional work, not to implement any of the recommendations that were identified by Accenture.
And from your perspective, is the scope of the contract changing or being enhanced or enlarged?
The scope of the contract is being enlarged, and that's what they're requesting, is that it be expanded to include that so they have a more comprehensive look that they did not know on day one when they started the assessment.
And so we're essentially moving from a $3 million short-term contract to a $14 million contract with an expanded scope in order to have a more comprehensive assessment of the overall organizational needs, correct? Okay. All right. I don't think I have any more questions about that.
And so my only
Ruiz?
question was, I wanted to make sure the city attorney had looked into that, and I was informed that the city attorney had looked at this. And so if you've approved it, I'm okay with it, but I just was a little.
So the city attorney's office is signed off, correct?
It has signed off. However, we could take
I'm
another
not
look.
asking you to look again, I'm just asking you to confirm
Signed
that
off,
you're
yeah.
signed off. If you're suggesting that you need to look at it again, then that's a different question.
I know that someone in my office has signed off on it. I would be comfortable, unless there's a need to have this approved today, I'd be comfortable taking another look at it myself with the attorney.
I'm not asking for that. I asked if
Yeah,
you-
we're asking, I mean, we're
if you
not,
signed-
yeah.
the city
we-
attorney
either you
signed off?
Either the city attorney's office is signed off or it's not. So we're just conducting our due diligence here, and
Yes.
we are doing it very transparently, and we are asking very directly. So we're hearing that procurement has signed off. We understand the needs from CSD's perspective, and those needs are universally understood. So our question is, has the city attorney's office signed off? And you've indicated that it has. So if that's where we are, then we are prepared to move forward.
If I can clarify, I know that myself and the city attorney have signed off on the scope of work, that it does not conflict contractually, it's not illegal. But George and I have some work that I was waiting for on the dollar value and the justification of that dollar value.
I understand what that means.
That the dollar value is large, as you can see, and my office did not receive all the documentation that George has, and so maybe he can speak to it, is how we got to that dollar value and the rationale for it. I did not see any of the
For
documentation.
me, then, my question is, why is it on our agenda in front of this board? Because there's a certain level of diligence that we can be expected to perform and that we work very hard to perform. But as you know, we are not full-time commissioners nor employed by this department or paid in any way, shape, and form. This department has a very large and, a very large and highly skilled staff of employees, so that by the time a contract reaches our table, we expect that it has been signed off by every single person in the chain of command that's supposed to sign off, and that all of the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, or it wouldn't be here. And we don't expect to have to sort of dig into every single aspect of, at this level of detail. So I actually do not know what to do at this point, because if you're saying, well, yes, except that we don't have certain information about the pay and this and so we're not completely signed off, then I'm just disturbed by the entire matter.
I would request that we defer the item. My understanding was all squared away and everyone was in agreement, but if there's any question, I might want to make sure I run that to ground. So I would request we defer the item right now.
All right, item is deferred. Thank you, I appreciate that. And again, I do want to, as the inspector, as the ratepayer advocate has previously commented, indicate that that CSD is in urgent need of certain services.
Comment. If often in these large consulting projects, there are multiple teams working in multiple areas. The first stage spent $3 million in 9 months, and that doesn't suggest that an additional $10 million over an additional 2 years is out of line. And these are all, I think, important areas for customer service to help them reach a new level of sophistication in what they're doing.
I do not doubt your expertise or wisdom in these matters. I will insist, the board has the right to insist, that if it's in front of us, that there be absolutely no daylight.
Right.
As it relates to legal or procurement. And I can only say that CSD is really in desperate need of some resolution to these issues. Okay? So we have 2 items remaining on the open agenda, and then we will break for for a brief lunch before going to the closed session agenda. The next item that is called special is item 17. That is an item that I indicated at the last board meeting that I would be bringing forward. I have provided a copy. It is on the public agenda. I will nevertheless speak to this item and also to outline the background of how we got here. So as is indicated in the item itself, since 2012, California law has declared that every person in the state has a right to clean, safe, and affordable drinking water. I think the importance of that was only underscored by the recent COVID pandemic. It is also incontrovertible that the lack of electrical power puts residents at an extreme disadvantage and at potential risk of harm. As was outlined in this boardroom by this department, low-income communities and communities of color, such as South LA, East Los Angeles, portions of the San Fernando Valley and the harbor area, are disproportionately impacted by high utility burden, debt burden, by arrearages, and by water or power shutoffs. Our own data shows that majority Black and Latinx communities were nearly 2.5 to 2 times, respectively, more likely to experience shutoffs than majority white communities, and that Black and Latino majority communities also generally experience the longest shutoff durations. These impacts are exacerbated by our ongoing economic and climate crisis, as seen with the recent heat storms that spread across the city. Utility burden and shutoffs are systems of broader structural and systemic disparities, such as redlining and lack of economic and community development, that have created and reinforced inequality. And this is a matter that is being documented by our equity strategies work, and we will be releasing a report. Will be coming to this board for review in the very near future. Against this backdrop, LADWP has made a commitment to equity and seeks to ensure baseline protections for its customers as we work to achieve utility debt relief, affordable rates, a just clean energy transition, and better customer service. Notably, as part of its commitment, LADWP participated in the U.S. Water Alliance's Preventing Shutoffs for Low-Income Households pilot project in partnership with SCOPE and South LA community members, which included extensive analysis of utility shutoff data, community impacts, and recommended strategies to discontinue shutoff as a debt collection practice with respect to low-income customers. Finally, a review of our customer bill paying patterns before, during, and after the COVID shutoff moratorium revealed that low-income customers continue to pay their utility bills at a rate equal to or higher than the overall customer base. This completely obliterates the concerns about moral hazard, i.e., if people think they can get away with something, they will. People could get away with not paying their utility bills during the COVID moratoriums, and they did anyway. It's not that they weren't paying because they could get away with it. They weren't paying because they couldn't afford it. Based on its review of publicly available data, research from the UCLA Luskin Center for researchers from the UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation and UCLA Institute of the Environment currently supporting the department's LA 100 Equity Strategies effort, concluded that service shutoffs of low-income customers is not plausibly justified as a revenue recovery imperative. At our September board meeting, where this matter was taken up in depth, LADWP staff shared plans to restart shutoffs for residential non-discount customers in May 2023 and residential discount customers in September 2023, in addition to efforts to develop and deploy a range of programs intended to offer more robust support for economically vulnerable customers. It's with that in mind that I offer this motion. I hereby move that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners instruct the department to A, discontinue collection-related water and power shutoffs aimed at low-income residential customers enrolled in LADWP Easy Save, Lifeline, and related assistance programs, and continue to ramp up efforts to secure utility debt relief, improve affordability, pursue equitable decarbonization efforts, provide comprehensive customer service, and increase pathways to family-sustaining union jobs at LADWP. Prioritize customers who would have been at risk of disconnection prior to the adoption of this motion for a customer consultation as part of the department's recently adopted program. 3, discontinue water and power shutoffs for all customers during extreme weather events. The implementation of this provision should be set to localized conditions in the city of LA and approved by this board at a future meeting. 4, increase marketing and communications efforts with a combination of both paid and earned media directed at targeted customers' communities to meaningfully increase awareness and enrollment in Easy Save, Lifeline, and related programs, including but not limited to level pay, and to report to the board semi-annually on its results. I want to point out that among the information presented to this board was a disturbing lack of awareness of eligibility for our Easy Save programs, particularly as it relates to affected communities. 5, through the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, to develop and implement sustainable partnerships with community-based organizations to meaningfully leverage and enhance communications and outreach efforts to targeted customers and communities regarding LADWP programs related to both debt relief and sustainability, and to report to the board annually on the results. CBOs serving on the Equity Strategy Steering Committee should be prioritized for partnership consideration. And then finally, the department should explore the feasibility of adopting a policy to extend additional shutoff protections to small commercial customers and customers in the top 20% highest scoring census tracts under the Cal EnviroScore Screen 4.0. I'd like to also say that it has been suggested that we include master metered buildings for low-income community members in this particular motion. I would simply say that I will be working with Commissioner NEEMAN BRADY on issues related to affordable housing, master meter buildings, and things of that nature, and would expect that there would be some additional policy development in that area. In bringing this motion, I want to acknowledge the work of Commissioner Reyes, who served on a subcommittee for 2 years on this item along with me. I also want to acknowledge the counsel of our former general counsel, Mr. Brejevich, the tireless work by our CFO, the customer service division, the efforts of our legislative and governmental affairs team, who have substantially succeeded in their efforts to bring forward outside dollars to assist in debt relief for these customers, and I know that work is continuing. Our general manager, who has stood behind these efforts and acknowledged and reinforced the purpose of a public utility as it relates to supporting and partnering with its most vulnerable customers. I also want to point out that this work has been powered in no small measure by partnership with the Repower LA Coalition, including Scope, Lane, and Pacoima Beautiful, who I want to signal out for special note, and also the support and the expertise of the folks who are working on the Equity Strategies project, including the folks at UCLA. This has been a long time coming, but I bring it before the board in hopes that the commission will support this effort and that we can ensure these protections for our residents.
Madam President, I would like to second the motion and also acknowledge your leadership in bringing this to the board, so thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Yes.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you for that. I am just incredibly happy and proud of this department. We also have called special item 18, which is being presented by Commissioner NEEMAN Brady, and I will have something to say after her presentation, but in advance of it, would simply say I thank you for your efforts in this regard.
Appreciate the time and the willingness of the board to hear this. As we've all, or many of us have faced having a child at some point in our careers, the fact that at this juncture, LADWP doesn't quite have a formalized paid parental leave policy, and I want to choose my words carefully because there are parental leave policies in place. There's disability coverage. There's a lot of different ways that employees can get some time off and paid time off when a child is born, but it is not a uniform policy from a benefit perspective. And it has come to our attention that the city of LA actually has a pilot paid leave program, which would confer 6 weeks to a parent, birthing and non-birthing parents. When initial cost assessments were done, it appeared to be really a de minimis cost to to LADWP. The employees, fortunately, because LADWP really does think of each other, of oneself as a family, do get the time. The time has been always afforded to them and made accommodations for schedules, and it's really great to hear some of the success stories and of that, but actually getting a comforting paid time has not been yet established. So this would contemplate roughly 6 weeks of paid parental leave, which would be in line with what the city does. And greatly appreciate that the city just started this themselves and has found success with it. So it's not something that's been around for a long time. And we'd like to capitalize on their success and see if we can get Marty, if you could go ahead and start working with the bargaining units to see if this is something that we can implement for ourselves as well. So the actual motion, I think there's a copy of it to read, but before I go ahead, thank you, and read it, I don't know, Cynthia, did you want to make some comments? Go ahead. Okay. So it says, whereas on February 24th, 2021, the Los Angeles City Council approved the implementation of a paid parental time pilot program for civilian employees of the City of Los Angeles departments. The PPT program includes up to 6 weeks of paid time off for city employees that qualify for family medical leave due to pregnancy, disability, and/or bonding. But the city's PPT does not include LADWP employees. And whereas LADWP does not currently have a paid parental leave provision that provides birthing and non-birthing parents with paid leave for childbirth or adoption, LADWP employees may qualify for unpaid time off under existing family medical leave provisions such as Pregnancy Disability Leave, Family Medical Leave Act, or California Family Rights Act. And whereas to be compensated, LADWP's employees must qualify for disability under the LADWP disability plan or must use from their available time banks, such as vacation time, sick time, personal time, or accumulated overtime. And whereas other large U.S. cities have paid parental leave provisions in place, such as Seattle, San Francisco, Austin, Boston, and San Antonio, implementing a paid parental leave provision at LADWP would strengthen LADWP's family care programming, recruitment, and retention efforts. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners instruct the General Manager and Chief Engineer or his designee to meet and confer with bargaining units to include a pilot paid parental leave provision that is similar to the city's PPT. I hear, should keep going?
No, you're going to
Okay.
rest. That's
Okay.
good, thank you. I just simply want to say that I could not be more supportive of the direction in this resolution. I, am mindful of the department being on the list of one of the, as a great place for women to work. And it is simply impossible to imagine that distinction would be well earned in 2022 without a formal paid family leave, parental leave program in place. This is very well constructed in terms of its the scope, dealing with both adoptive or otherwise, and without reference to gender. So I am enthusiastic about supporting this. It is not lost on me that the board member with the youngest children at the table is the board member who is bringing this measure forward. It simply underscores the importance of representation in the fullness of what that word is about. And, I would imagine that our labor partners would be similarly inclined to move forward and look forward to a report back to this board at the earliest possible date. Are there any other questions or comments? Then would you please call the roll?
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye, and in case I did not offer a second, I want to make sure that the motion is properly seconded.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. Yay. Then with that, it is 10 minutes after 12, and I know that I'm always awful about lunch, so why don't we break for 30 minutes, and then we'll resume in closed session and take up the closed session agenda. Ms. Riley.
The board shall recess into closed session for a conference with legal counsel regarding the items listed on the agenda. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.
Thank you. We're in recess. In closed